Hey Koopy, Captain Cooper. Moin moin everybody, welcome back to Sailing Good Old Boats.
And if you're new here, welcome.
So today we are talking about the famous,
Islander 28.
and that's a cool boat. So for the few of you that are not caught up yet, we're looking for a boat.
Yes, we do.
We're here at Lake Superior. Let me take the little guy, I got a little guy here. So we are sailing out of Duluth, or actually the harbor of Superior down here. So at the very end, and we looked before at Silver Bay up here, and we want to show you hopefully something like Apostle Islands, Isle Royale, and we'll see how far we can push it this season. But you know, it is all about Lake Superior, and we're looking for boats on the Islander 28, right?
Correct.
Here's the thing. We found more than one. So that's always a good thing. Of that particular boat, we actually found a couple of them around the lake, right? So we traveled to some marinas, one at the North Shore, I think, the others at the southern shores here in Wisconsin. And so what you see here later on in that footage of the review is a mixed match of a couple of different boats. I think 2 or 3 even. And that is there to give you an impression, and we want to have a good look at the Islander 28 because it's such a popular boat, right?
It is, yes. It's a very pretty boat.
It is. It's really one of those good old boats, one of the good old plastic you can scoop up for relatively little money, you know, from the 70s, 60s, 70s design, actually produced in the 70s, but we'll get deeper into that here in a moment. And it is actually a phenomenal boat for what you get for your money. I think it's a lot of bang for your buck, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's say without further ado. All right, now here she is, the Islander 28, also known as the Bahama 28. More about that later. So the lines are very beautiful, classic design, gorgeous boat, I think. Let's have a quick look at the sailboat data first. She's a fin keel with spade rudder, a masthead sloop, so the foresail goes all the way up to the masttop and was originally equipped with a universal atomic 4 30 horsepower gasoline engine, and her bunker capacity for water is 24 gallons and for gasoline 20 US gallons. She was made from fiberglass. The hull is solid hand-laid fiberglass, and the deck is plywood cord. So it's a sandwich design, also obviously fiberglass, but with a plywood core. The ballast is bolted lead as a fin, bolted directly to the keel stub, and production was from 1975 to 1985, and they built 430 of the Islander and then 25 of the Bahama 28. But more about that later. So it's kind of an interesting special version of this boat. And the builder is the Islander Yacht Corporation, and the designer is no one less but famous Robert H. Perry. Moving on to the specifications. All right, a length of oar 27.11 feet at the waterline 23. Beam of 9.11, so almost 12 and almost 10. That would be a wide boat otherwise. Sail area of 361 and draft 5 foot on the dot. Displacement 7,000 pounds, and out of that ballast 3,000 pounds. So let's crunch some numbers. We'll use all of that to come up with some sailboat performance calculations to get a better idea what she can do for us. And here it is. So she has a sail area to displacement of almost 16, not quite. Ballast to displacement close to 43. Displacement to length at 254, so not overbuilt, not really light, good happy medium for a coastal cruiser, and that gives her a comfort ratio of 21. Capsize screening formula is at 2.06, so she's above 2. Again, she's a coastal cruiser slash club racer, was never designed and intended as a blue water boat. Keep that in mind, please. I couldn't find a handicap on that boat. I don't know. I looked, I didn't find anything. If you guys know more about that, please feel free, leave a comment down in the description box. That is always greatly appreciated. Her hull speed is around 6.4 and pounds immersion, so it takes 789 pounds to make her drop 1 inch. I think it looks good. Well-rounded design, just looking at the numbers. Again, for coastal cruiser slash family cruiser club racer, that looks like a well-rounded design to me. Very, very nice boat. A few notes before we carry on, actually have a look at the boat itself. There was also a shoal draft model available with a draft of about 4 feet. And then back to the Bahama 28. Remember, there were 25 of them built, only 25. And that's another variant of this boat. It features a U-shaped galley instead of the standard L-shaped galley in the Islander 28. So if you find a Bahama 28, it is a really cool boat just because it's so rare. There are not many of them out there. Okay, so let's step aboard, and we start out with the cockpit area. As you can see here, there's no bridge deck, and the companionway entrance goes all the way down to the floor. There's bulkhead mounted compass and self-tailing winches on the high coamings that give a really protected feel here in the cockpit. There's also drainage already molded into the seating arrangement, so that water runs down right into the cockpit floor pan, and there are 2 drains right down there, and they go to scuppers overboard below the waterline above that engine control panel, and she is tiller steering, as you can see. Also a gusher handle here on one side. The locker to port is of decent size, and the coaming compartments are rather large. With the lack of a bridge deck, moving about, going down below and coming back up is super convenient. It really makes it a breeze. All right, moving on. Let's say we look at the entire deck layout next. I would describe the deck layout as open and practical. As you can see, the stanchions have been placed inboard towards the coach roof, so it makes it relatively easy to go past them as you move forward. There's also already a dodger coaming molded into the deck mold. There are handrails, so there's ample of opportunities to hold onto the boat. And as always, one hand for the job and one hand to the boat. And she got 2 deck hedges here, one behind the mast and one up front. There's also a decent size anchor locker molded into the deck pan up forward. However, the lifelines itself, the lifelines are only single lines, no double lines. She came with an aluminum mast and boom with single spreaders. Here happening where the actual traveler is located at, and that is an issue, you can tell, because there was, I don't know, there must have been a lot of pull on this. So this here is structural. This is not just cosmetic surface, I believe. Also running rigging seems to be in good shape. Standing rigging seems to be in good shape. Hull deck joint is solid inward flange, bolted and chemically bonded. And for the most part, the deck seems to be solid. I didn't find many soft spots. Seems to be all good. Around the stanchions, maybe a little bit, as one would expect that. Coach roof is solid. Yeah. And a huge anchor locker with a Danforth. Now that we have seen the deck, let's step down into the salon area. The electrical system, at least the panel on first glance, looks very good. Also the chain plates look dry. That looks actually good. I haven't seen the hull deck joint yet. I don't know how Islander did that. We'll get to that here in a moment. You can tell, so this here is a companionway, salon table that folds out with a double leaf. And this here's a convertible single double berth that will come out to about here, middle of the boat. And then we got a galley with an ice box and a refrigerator in there. There's a fridge unit, 12-volt fridge, ample of storage, and an Origo alcohol stove, which is unfortunately not gimbaled. But still, that's quite nice. And again, lots of storage behind the galley. So there's really no shortage of storage. So this here is another example of an Islander 28 galley. This one seems to have a gas burner in it that can be gimbaled. The galley again is L-shaped in the Islander, and the Bahama 28 has a U-shaped galley. You can see here one more time the icebox without the refrigeration unit. It's good size, really deep icebox actually. And there's ample of storage for pots and pans, for all your cutlery and everything that you need to get into some serious cuisine cooking here. It's actually quite a spacious galley for the actual size of it. I was surprised. So here's the bilge of the Islander 28, and you can tell the keel bolts are pretty solid. This is a freshwater boat, so it has never seen any salt water. Then we got here the keel bolts going back, and we got it looks like a manual and an automatic bilge pump. The bilge in the Islander 28 for a fin keel boat is really deep, and the keel bolts are massive. You see here the structural members going from starboard to port are really beefy. However, it's wood and they glassed over that, and some of them have rotten beams, so you might have to repair that as the boat gets older. But just to give you an idea, this here is a Catalina 27 in comparison. The keel bolts on the Catalina are way smaller than on the Islander, and the weight of the keel is comparable. Here is the cabin with a double leaf table extended, and again the starboard berth converts into a double berth. There are, I don't know if you can see that down the hinges, and it folds out basically. We just had that out. We didn't know how to arrange the cushions in a fashion that will work out, but basically it sleeps two grown-ups in relative comfort. So nice is the low companionway entrance, although it's certainly nothing that you want to have for serious sailing, thinking about water intrusion into the cockpit. But going in and out is definitely a breeze with that arrangement. It's a spacious boat for 28 foot. From here we are moving forward into the VBoss. Also the VBoss has a good size. There's plenty of storage around the boat everywhere. Little hanging locker. And from the VBoss back, we'll look at the head, and this is kind of something strange about this here. You see that design suggests here, the drawings, that she has a walk-through head. We didn't see that on all the different boats we looked at. They all had to starboard an enclosed head and to port a hanging locker. The head itself is very nice. The head compartment here is sweet. It looks really sophisticated for a boat of this size. So you got all new seacocks in here with ball valves, no old gate valves, so the valves are good. Looking at the hull deck joint now in the bathroom, I don't know if you can see that at all, but I'm looking at machine bolts, and so it's not just self-tapping screws and a chemical bond. It seems to be actually bolted, through bolted with washers and nuts the way it should be. Before we step outside again, let's, oops, sorry. Went backwards. We're not going back into the VBoss, I apologize. We're going actually on the way out now across the companionway and look at the engine compartment, because I found something interesting there. One of the boats has been repowered with a different engine. Usually there was an atomic 30 horsepower in there, an atomic 4. And I found one with something else, so let's have a quick look at that. Here on top, access to the engine. So this here is a gasoline engine, and we are looking at it. So it's ahead of it. It is basically, from what I understand, it's an OMC sail drive Cypher, a Cypher sail drive OMC. And what that is, something like a 25 horsepower original Evinrude or Johnson that has been reduced to 15 horsepower somehow. I would assume to make the engine last longer, because it's a gasoline engine. I just removed the companionway ladder, so this is the engine. That's a 2-cylinder engine, so you can tell it's basically the same idea like any outboard engine, and it's sitting on the sail drive. Now the outside of the hull, a little bit of a separation going on, not much, but you can tell it's about to start here. Yeah, and there's one more time that sail drive from that Cypher from the outside. So normally there would be just a prop shaft coming out if the vessel would be still equipped with its original atomic 4 engine. Rudder post. The rudder post has a little bit of play. Right here. So the bushings are worn out. Needs no bushings in the rudder post. Here an example of an Islander 28 with a rotten structural member, floor beam or floor joist just behind the fin keel. You can see the vessel is settling basically on top of the keel. This needs urgent attention. This is structural damage to the boat. So that's it, folks, but please stick around for a couple of final notes and thoughts as we are wrapping it up. Now let's take a moment to honor our newest Patreon with a big Patreon shout out. This time around it goes over all the way to Essen, Germany for our newest deckhand level Patreon. Thanks for coming on board. Thanks for chipping in. Nick, your contributions are truly much appreciated. Alright you guys, so that was today the famous Islander 28. I think it's a really cool boat.
It is. I really like the boat. What exactly did you like about the boat?
Well, I thought it felt very spacious, you know. You walk down the companionway entrance and it's really low. She doesn't really have a bridge deck. Right?
No, she doesn't. So this is kind of a minus.
Yeah, and safety, exactly, yeah. So it's as convenient as it is. if you think about your cockpit is getting swamped by high waves, so I mean, you could probably leave the board in, but the other thing is the bridge deck stabilizes the cockpit more, right? Think about a full bathtub, how much weight in water that is. That could actually kind of collapse a little bit the cockpit floor or so, you know. Well, but anyhow, it is definitely a thing that they did back then, and it adds to the overall convenience. Moving about the vessel and going down below is a breeze, right? I mean, I think if you have a dog also, even a dog could bounce back and forth in and out probably, you know.
Very easy.
Very easy. So yeah, that's something, personal preference, depending on what you want to do with it, because every boat is a compromise. You know, it really depends on what you want to do with it. You want to cross an ocean, you want to just go a little bit sundowning somewhere, gun hauling around, you know, in relatively protected waters. It's a 28-footer. It's not a blue water boat. So just keep that in mind. But it's a very good one, you know. And
very pretty one.
Yes, it is. There's a lot of really good teak down below. I mean, the craftsmanship of the cabinetry, for instance.
Yes, which I really like that.
I like that too. I like the wicker, you know, in the doors. All the cabinet doors have wicker doors, so that everything is ventilated, you know. It's that you have not this typical stale air there in the cabinets, you know, where it gets moist with right at the fiberglass. And there is a lot of good things to say about that boat, you know. And I thought she was spacious.
She was very spacious.
Yeah. It's a boat that has...
I was surprised, actually.
Me too. And it is a boat that has a lot of volume. You know, you step down below, you don't feel cramped or so. And what I like, I don't know, I pointed it out before, in the drawings, in the initial drawings of the boat, you see that she has a walk-through bathroom, like many other boats of that size would have. They must have changed that, because all the boats that we looked at didn't have that. They actually had like a separated head to one side of the boat, right, to starboard. Right. And then to port there was a hanging locker instead, you know, instead of that actual walk-through design that they must have thought about initially, and they must have changed it. I don't know if that happened somewhere in the production run, or
I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, if Perry looked at that and was like, I don't know. If you guys know more about that, please leave a comment. I would really like to know if there's actually an Islander out there that still has that walk-through bathroom arrangement. Yeah. I don't know if you guys know what I mean, like where you basically come through the first bulkhead, and then you have, let's say, to starboard the head and to port the vanity, and then there's another bulkhead, and then you're in the VBoss, and you can close two doors to have a separate head compartment. So that's not the case with that boat anymore. They must have changed it somewhere. Yeah, so hot contender, huh?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
It's just, we had problems finding one that did not have floor damage. So that might be really something to look out for. They seem to have problems, the understructure of the floors, of the floor pan is wood, glassed over, and I think that can rot away after a while. It's not the end of it. You could sister up a beam and support it and so on. So it's still a fantastic boat, you know. And what I liked. Oh, one more thing I liked. Did you see the keel bolts? I mean, how massive were the keel bolts?
They were massive.
Very.
Yes.
I mean, for a boat of that size, you'd be like, what? I mean, remember when we looked at the Catalina 27 and they were tiny, actually gone, rotten away, and those were like 3 times the size or so for the same weight, you know. I mean, that's pretty impressive. So good overall, good building quality, and okay, plywood decks. Well, it's heavier than balsa end grain, you know, and it's a cheaper way to do it. But if it's done well and sealed off well, there shouldn't be too much of a problem, you know. It's that we found a few soft spots tapping, and that's not unusual, as you know, around stanchions and wherever you drill a hole into the deck, basically where water can get in. But yeah, I don't know. You have to dry it out and repair it, apparently, sooner or later. Better sooner than later, but overall, great boat. Huh? Yeah. I like the numbers. She seems to be just looking at the performance calculations, like a really...
Very good performance, yes.
Yes, like a well-rounded design. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you next time. Please smash the like button, hit the bell so that you'll be notified whenever we release new footage, right? And then also, if you like and share and subscribe, that helps us to mess with that weird YouTube algorithm to push forward. And also consider becoming a Patreon. You know, we'll leave you that link down in the description box. It's a great way of supporting the channel that we can, I don't know, get better equipment, bring you better footage. You know, we always try to advance our productions, and that costs money. So if you want to pitch in, that'd be greatly appreciated. That's it for today, huh? Alrighty.
See you next time.
On sailing good old boats. Cheers.